Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing? Happy Saturday. I know this is very unprecedented because I usually don't do my show on Saturdays or on the weekends. But I had to make the exception for my guest for today. I've known him for quite some time. He is also a high jumper, and he's just a really, really good dude. And every time I'm around him or with him, it's an adventure and it's exciting. And so I wanted to make sure that I fit him in the schedule any way that I possibly could. Today's guest is Mike Edwards, and he is, for the U.S. watchers, he is not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety. Apparently, there is another man out there named Mike Edwards, but that's not him. So let's get that out there. But he is the CEO of Aries Limited, and he's a TV and sports and lifestyle personality. He's also a high jumper for Nigeria, and a phenomenal husband. And I was really, really excited to get him on the show. I had reached out thinking he would be like, no, there's no way. And he agreed, and I'm so excited. I actually don't know where he is right now. I do know that I believe that he's 5 hours ahead from the East Coast. So I'll get to ask him where he is, how's quarantine life, and pretty much just the lifestyle that he's, been living right now since the last time I saw him, which was at the Commonwealth Games in 2018. And I'll dive into a little bit of that, but I loved the opportunity to get to know Mike a little bit better, and hopefully his wife is with him. Maybe she'll come and do a little guest appearance of her own, but I love newly married couples. I love interviewing athletes and getting their perspective of life, and so it's been something that I've had a passion for. So welcome, and to speak my truth. This is my first full week doing it, and all the guests have been amazing, supportive, and loving, and it's really, really near and dear to my heart. So we will have Mike Edwards in a little bit, and once he joins, I'll add him and we'll get right to the questions. Please feel free to write in the questions. I do get a notification saying, hey, there's questions and we want them answered. So your questions take priority, and I do want to let you know that once you do ask a question, I make sure that I get to it. Again, my guest today is Mike Edwards, CEO of Aries Limited, and a TV, sports, and lifestyle personality. I know he did a TV show out in Nigeria it's like a reality show kind of thing, and I can't wait to ask him about that. And just a phenomenal human being and husband. And how I met him was through high jump, so that's the connection there. He was also a high jumper. But happy Saturday. I hope you guys are enjoying this it's finally beautiful in Wildwood, New Jersey. It has been rain and gloomy weather this entire time, and I'm completely over it. And so now that today is beautiful weather, we're actually going to head out, my husband and I, in a little bit to just go for a walk, be outside, get some sunlight on the skin, because my husband needs it. He's pretty pale right now. I think this is the lightest I'll ever be too. I'm pretty light-skinned over here right now, but I've been definitely enjoying this time with my husband, trying not to go stir crazy, and I appreciate all the nurses and the doctors who are just working tirelessly to fight in this pandemic, and I truly appreciate it. But without further ado, I'm gonna add my guest right now, and this is like the first time I've ever been nervous, but in a really good, excited way. And usually I'm just super nervous with Coach Lavin and stuff, but this is a whole nother level. So without further ado, we are going to add Mike Edwards. And you guys still know that I'm horrible at, pressing buttons and stuff, obviously, as you guys. Audience needs to get ready.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. My
Uh,
audience loves you already.
uh,
Thank you so much for doing this.
oh, don't be
I
silly. Well done for doing it. Well done for doing it.
Thank you. I mean, I know that it's now like the trend because everyone's home and now everybody's just like, oh, I'm gonna, start a show. But this has been something that, I mean,
Yeah,
us personalities, we want to do, we want to,
of course.
start using our craft. And now
Hmm.
that we can practice the way we want to, this
Right.
was a great, experience for me. And to have you on the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so
Uh,
excited.
no. First of all, thank you again for inviting me to come on your show. But
Of
more
course.
importantly, thank you for doing it because it takes a lot of guts for people to put stuff like this out
Yes.
and to obviously do the legwork behind the scenes and then come up with questions. So to be consistent with it, well done, and you should
Thank
you
you.
should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you so much. You guys see why he's such a phenomenal human being? Like, who does this?
Uh,
Oh my goodness.
Bless you.
But no, it's very true. I mean, a lot of people are like, wow, you like got out of your comfort zone and you really stepped out. And for me, it was just, I mean, I feel like as athletes, we have to do that. We have to be
Yeah.
able to juggle. We have to be able to balance. And if it's not going one way, figure out the next route in a sense. And you are the perfect, I mean, candidate for that as well. Where
Okay.
are you exactly?
I'm in London right now. I'm in
Okay.
London. Yeah, I made it out right before they closed the borders in Lagos.
Okay.
So I was in Lagos getting things situated, and then whoop,
Yeah.
uh, I decided to, I had a hunch that maybe they would close the border. So my wife was still in London, so I decided to make that trip just in
Yeah.
case. And
Absolutely. And
yeah,
there you
here
are.
we
Is
are.
your wife with you now?
Yeah, she is.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Okay, good. If she
yeah.
wants to make a guest appearance, she's absolutely welcome.
Uh,
The show, but this is my time. This is my
I hear
show.
you. I hear you.
But I'm glad that you are safe. You made it back, and you are quarantined with your wife, and that's really great. I'm glad that
Yeah,
everyone's keeping safe and taking the right precautions as well.
yeah.
I do want to jump in because I have 1,000 questions that I narrowed down to like 9 or 10.
Go ahead.
And I feel like people are going to be asking questions. So for some reason, I obviously sent out the form and I was like, it'll be 15, 20 minutes. I have had 2 that have actually run true. And then
Yeah.
people are just like, oh, I'm having a great time. I'm just going to keep talking. And I'm like, no, you don't have to stay. I promise. So I want to make sure that we get to the questions and I get to honestly what I've been, wanting to ask you for a while.
Yeah.
And for those of you guys who don't know, Mike is a self-made man, and I applaud that, and I'm so in awe of that. And you've worked extremely hard for your success and where you are right now. You have a high-quality cigar line, which was one of Britain's first Black-owned cigar lines. And for every one of your cigars sold, you provide a person in developing nations with clean drinking water.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
That I cannot applaud you enough for doing that and for keeping that in mind. Most people, when they start a business and they do this, like they think about the money. They think about where can I be? And the first thing was for every cigar sold, you're going to give a developing nation clean drinking water. That is so, and I guess in a sense, progressive. What made you make that choice?
Well, initially I stumbled upon a charity that was doing, great deeds in the communities. And I felt like because I had so much experience in the handcrafting of the cigars, I realized how much water I was putting in, not just regular water, but clean water that was, essential for the cigars to be made at high quality. So
Oh, wow.
I thought about all the people that weren't getting clean water, and I was like, I felt kind of away. So I decided to team up with the organization to offer proceeds towards that cause, just because it just made the perfect sense.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
works together.
yeah,
Wow, that is amazing. Again, I am not a cigar person. My husband is, and I had no idea that
yeah,
cigars needed that much water. But
yeah,
that obviously makes sense.
yeah,
And kudos to the website because I have been there. I have visited,
yeah,
and my husband does have a beard. And on your site, you sell cigars and like beard oil. And I saw you
yeah,
have like calendars and clothing.
yeah.
Kudos to the growth of the business. Did
Thank you.
you Did you start this by yourself? This
Yeah.
Aries Limited? Okay.
Yeah.
And do you still run the business by yourself, or now you have like a
Yeah.
team?
No, still pretty most part, single-handedly, but I do have a team now that's helping in terms of like strategy and
Okay.
helping me connect with certain markets because I've been away for a while. So so besides that, it's still in the growing years, but infancy. I'm taking my time with it since I don't plan to grow it to sell it. I plan to keep and
Okay.
hold it for some years. So, yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Well, that's incredible. I was just talking to Natasha Hastings about her business,
yeah,
and there's a thing about misconception. So when you
hmm
see people from like when you're just watching somebody, there's all
yeah,
these misconceptions like, oh, she got it together, or he probably has a team together. But I love that people are honest in this show because they're just like, nope, it's still me doing all
yeah,
the work.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
applaud you for that because, yeah, I mean, and her thing was people always perceived her as having all this money, where she
yeah,
has all this money to hire these people and like living this lavish
yeah,
lifestyle. She's like, no, I still, I'm in the business and I'm still growing my website. I'm learning
yeah,
myself. And so I think it's
yeah,
amazing with your schedule that you can
yeah.
balance this.
Well,
You
yeah,
can
I mean,
balance.
it has to be a passion. It has to be a
Yes.
passion, and I started the business when I was like fresh out of university,
Yeah.
my first
I
year
love
out.
that. You guys say fresh out of university.
Oh yeah,
We
yeah,
don't, Americans don't speak like we are not like that.
there's a difference now.
Yeah.
So
Oh, we do know that. There's a
you
there's a
know,
big difference.
right. So yeah, I started straight out, and I knew at the time I was like, well, I need to put my efforts into something that I can hopefully benefit me in the future because as an athlete, you spend a lot of time dedicated to one one specialty,
One
and
focus, yeah.
I always wanted something to show for the
Hmm.
work I put in, and I decided, well, if I'm going to be here for 4 years training for Olympics, in 4 years, let's try to see if I can get something out. So that's where it
Absolutely.
started from. I think the website launched in 2016 on the day, on like January. So from that, well, I had the business established in 2015, but 2016 is when we launched it officially. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's been a whole Olympic cycle,
Yep.
and yeah.
And it's
So
grown, and you've done such a
yeah,
great job with advertising and
thank
partnering
you,
with different people and giving back. I absolutely love it.
thank
And I
you.
think, I mean, I can't wait. My husband he's right over here. He's just listening, and
Shout out, husband.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
he'll be back on for Ken's Corner in a little bit.
uh,
But I think it's something that is very relatable, and I did read. I mean, I've read articles about
yeah,
about you and what you've done, and I've heard that there have been people who are skeptical about having track athletes and cigars,
right.
and I think that's true. I mean, when I told my coach, I was like, oh, I'm going to buy, some cigars from Mike. And he was just like, oh, you shouldn't be smoking cigars and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
What do you say to the naysayers that don't believe that they blend in a sense?
Um, I've had the lucky you sipping on some tea. Look at you. Priscilla, oh my goodness, you got me. You know what? To each his own.
Okay.
I've always said like cigars is not habitual. It's not something you do every day,
Yes.
and if you can't find whatever it is for you that helps you switch off, helps you reflect and enjoy again even if you're not a cigar fan, you might be a fan of craftsmanship. If you can, embody that and see, what, I appreciate something like this, let me just take time to, maybe enjoy the fruits of its labor.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always been a fan of vintage, Renaissance, just kind of like the the era that, you know, is not so much heavily put in the spotlight in today's society. So,
Yes.
you know, I
It's the
kind of
class.
enjoy that.
It's like that
Yeah,
classy
exactly. You know,
heritage culture.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, you know, to me, you know, it's one of those things. If you enjoy it, great. If you don't, somebody that you know might. And
Might. Yeah.
that's all I ask. You know what I mean? Give it a shot. Give it a try. If
I
it's not
love
for
it.
you, it's not for you. Yeah.
I
So you don't.
absolutely love it. I think it's funny because I'm not a cigar drinker. I mean, a
Yeah.
cigar smoker, but I absolutely, when I went to your website, it was more just like the reviews were like, oh, we smoked one during celebration,
Yeah.
during, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's to support you, you know, a self-made man, and the fact of you can honestly step out of your comfort zone and say, I'm going to enjoy this moment. If you
Right.
worked hard for something
Right.
and you can finally celebrate and look back like, I want to take this time for myself, I
Right.
think that's where the blend is. And I
There you
love
go.
that you had a cigar, and was it champagne or
Yes.
after
Yes.
one of your track meets?
Yeah. Yeah.
How balls
Um,
to the wall is that?
you know, I'm glad you asked that question because, you know, since what, it was 2018 now, so I've had a couple years to just kind of like, you know what, man, you did that, you know. But
Yes.
in reality, you know, it's been 2 years now, and I don't regret a single thing about doing what I did, because a lot of times as athletes, we're so strict and so humble and so shy in a sense that even when we do have our moments, we don't really enjoy them to its full fulfillment, because we're so used to, okay, well, we got another competition to prepare for, so let's not take an eye off the ball. And I get all that, but at the same time, it's like you only have a few PBs or maybe several to
Yeah.
put on the hand of performances that you remember for the rest of your life. The rest of them, you're probably going to be just turning over. So, you know, I mean, I don't know how many times Usain Bolt had personal best, not like
Yeah.
Mondo dude who's doing it
Yeah.
every weekend,
Yeah.
but you know, like, you know, so those moments you're going to cherish for the rest of your life. So when you have an opportunity to step on a podium, go buck wild. You never know
Yeah.
when it's going to be your last.
And
So,
enjoy that moment for yourself that you've
yeah,
actually worked really hard for,
exactly.
and you finally made it. And I do
Yeah,
believe that. I think what happens is sometimes people get used to that like lifestyle, and I I mean, I've only been fortunate to be on the podium at a high level, again, a handful of times, and they're not all PBs, but
yeah,
it's like those moments where I'm just like, I want to
championship.
take this time for myself and be like, wow, I did this, I
Right,
accomplished something. And especially representing Antigua and Barbuda, it's a smaller
right,
country. They're not all over. You're not plastered everywhere. So when we can actually see my country's, you know, name on it, I'm like, wow, I was a
right,
part of that. I helped that.
right.
And I love that, you know, that mentality. And I love the mentality that you had. And I think from when I met you in college, I think it was
Yeah.
Big East, you were at Louisville.
Where
And
was
we
we?
were,
It was in Akron. We met in
yes,
Akron. Yeah, yeah,
yes. And that was the first time I had ever met you. And
yeah.
I was like, of course the accent gets you.
Uh,
You're black and you have the accent. And I was like, oh, we doing it. And so, and then I followed your journey from, you know, from high jump. We all know each
likewise,
other.
likewise.
And I feel like things have changed. Obviously, we grow up. And from reading a lot of the articles about you, I love that you're honest. And what happened in 2018 at the Commonwealth Games, and I don't want to, you know, harp on it, but it was a very big pivotal moment. And I'm going to tell you from my perspective,
Yes.
I was in awe of the entire situation because you stood up for something that most people would be too scared to.
Yeah.
When you think of professional athletes, I'm always like, why don't the bigger athletes help those that are coming up? And people would always tell me it's because they've got it, like they got their cushy little, you know, their agreements and their contracts, and they don't want to mess that up.
Exactly.
And what you did was so profound and so humbling, and I loved it. And for you to stand up for yourself, and I love the line that, I don't know if this is true or they kind of took liberty, but you said, why are you persecuting me for a decision that I made as a child, as a junior athlete, for something that happened 9 years later?
Right.
Like, that doesn't, I've matured, I've grown, and I
Right.
loved that. And I
Yeah.
think one thing that's happening in the US is that athletes are being forced to grow up too soon. They want
Yeah.
these times and these performances to be
Right.
to be happening now.
Right
So
now.
I just want to ask this question out and about. How has your life changed from that moment, and how have you grown and matured through that?
Well, that moment was probably felt like one of the lowest moments in my career. I felt so vulnerable. I felt hopeless. It kind of felt like, like, geez, like I'm powerless. I really don't have power. You know what I mean? Like I'm like a puppet. And so that moment, it's kind of similar to how we are in this as a society right now. We feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
We don't really have much power to do things. Those that are very dependent on their hard work and labor. They can't use that
Yeah.
that right now for leverage. So when I was going through the situation in Australia, I was like, wow, all these years, these times, on the grind I put in overnight and stuff. When I feel like it's my moment, now I've just been told just to sit tight and just to just
Wait.
don't participate right now. Sit on the
Yeah.
bench, and it felt very, it was a low moment. So having felt that, everything else, when you're at rock bottom, there's only one way up.
Yeah.
One way to go is up. So everything, like literally, my life changed. I think I got baptized that year, and everything just kind of went up and up, and I haven't looked back. And I felt, that I took control of that situation, and now I kind of do what I want for me, and it's kind of like, not letting the entertainment, the industry take part of my soul, take part of, like, who I am, and I think that's kind of been the beckoning behind a lot from 2018.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's absolutely incredible, and it's the growth. And when they wanted you to be silent, you realize that you just
Right.
couldn't at that point.
Get that, yeah. And
At-
it's a shady industry, man. The athletics realm. I tell you, I've seen it now. I've seen it. It's shady.
You've lived it for so many of
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
and
I mean, I've met with the presidents. I've met with these guys in the shirts and ties, and
yeah,
and it's really not as polished as we think it is. And that's
yeah.
kind of one thing that I took, and I was like, wow, okay, so
And I
you know,
love that you're taking control of it in your own way. And
yeah,
I love what you said. You're not gonna let it affect you or take control of you. You have to take control of your own self and
of course,
make moves for yourself.
of
Because
course,
at the end of the day, no one's looking out for you. And yes,
exactly,
when we sign all those contracts,
yeah.
don't what is it? There's no slander on the games or anything like that. And I remember at the Olympics, they were like, you can't use Olympic, like the Olympic logo, or you can't say Olympic something. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Crazy.
Like that's crazy. How are you going to tell us that we worked so hard for,
Right.
and you've just been sitting there being like, all right, here it is. So
Yeah.
I completely agree, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you've taken control and you've made
Yeah.
such a successful name for yourself, and for an example for the other athletes that are working hard and doing what they need to do. I
100%.
absolutely love that. And I think it's great that are you now representing Nigeria?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And your mother was born there?
Yes.
Okay.
Mom
Why
was
was it? Why was it something? Because again, when Great Britain's big name. What
Yeah.
made you want to represent Nigeria?
To me, it felt as if doing something profound at that time in my stage of my career was becoming another number, or becoming part of history and creating a legacy. I did my homework. I did my research. I knew that there hadn't been any male high jumpers represent Nigeria for almost half a century.
Yeah, I think you said 50
Yeah,
years.
50 years. So it was like, wow, I mean, and I qualified.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. It was a
Yeah.
no-brainer. I was like, well, here I am.
Yep.
So I mean, I made the switch because I felt like I feel like in life you go through life and the writings are on the wall. You go searching, digging for it, but like usually the opportunities are right there screaming at you. And I saw that as an opportunity. I wanted to go to the Commonwealth Games. I wanted to don the Nigerian vest. And, you know, I always felt like I wanted to, you know, connect with my heritage. And by doing that, you know, it would give me an opportunity to do it and learn in the process. So it was kind of a win-win. There's no way I could have looked at it any other better scenario.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, that was, you know, that literally was the start of everything else after that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was worth the fight. It was worth the fight. I had no idea what was to come, but it was, you know, during in the moment, you know, honestly, it was the best thing. I probably could have made a decision for myself. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, again, it's that courage, it's that discipline, it's that focus. And when you
Yeah.
really want something, it's never going to be that easy
Right.
road. Nothing worthwhile is easy. And
Exactly.
I think, to be honest, in that low point for you, I think
Yeah.
I always tell the kids that I coach that in your lowest moment is when you learn and you grow and you become the person that you're meant to. And for me, I mean, I've had such a hard professional journey, but it's made me so much more confident. It's made me more knowledgeable. And so I appreciate those times. And
You've
I'm
done
gonna have
well.
to.
You're marketing yourself, you know, from day one. You know, and I actually I watch you as well as a muse, someone that is you know, we both came from the same conference in college, and you went on as a professional, and you switched, I think, in 2014.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you know, like you know, again, watching your success and how you developed, you know, as a professional, because there's one thing with collegiate, but as a professional, it's a completely different ballgame.
Absolutely.
And, you know, you've done it now. I think you're on the European circuit doing your thing. And so it's honestly good to see. And obviously, you know, you've had great success at the world-class level, taking on medals. So I think, you know, part of what we do is also going to be, you know, somewhat of a ripple effect to the athletes coming up. And, you know, we might think that our biggest purpose is to, you know, to set records and to when competitions, but it's more or less, you know, I mean, how effective you can be to those that are looking up to you.
And what you're giving back.
Right, you know, and I think that, you know, ultimately is how you're going to remember it. I know so many people that have got all these championships and records, and nobody knows what they're doing in today's society to have an impact.
And it's
because,
true.
you know, in athletics, it's what have you done for me lately? That's all people care about. What have you done for me lately? It's a cutthroat industry, so
it is. It absolutely is. Preach,
Yeah.
because it absolutely is. And I mean, I speak to so many people, and they're like, "Oh, you do the high jump? Is that the one with the pole?" Like, they have no idea what I do, but they
Exactly.
probably like. They're like, "Oh, you know, you should do this. You should do this more on television." And I'm like, "That's so crazy. Like, I'm a professional track and field athlete,
Right.
but you ask them anything about track and field, my husband being one of them, and he's just like, Usain Bolt. That's all I got." And I'm like,
Wow.
"That's the only person that you know?" He's like, "Yeah, like," and he's like, "Yeah, I saw him on Ellen, and you know, he's all over the news and all kind of stuff." And I'm like, "Exactly." And so
That's crazy.
it is interesting. You do have to promote yourself and do that kind of stuff. And my biggest challenge for me, I don't know if this is ever for you, is being an Antiguan and Barbudan athlete, and people being like, "Well, you don't look like them, you don't sound like them." So for me, it's more of bridging that gap and allowing people to say, she's different, and obviously I was not born there, but I represent them. I'm proud to be, you know, from there. My history, my heritage, that's why I represent them, because I want to know where I come from. I want to know that side of me. And I encourage other athletes to if they do have that dual citizenship, to do it. Find out something more about yourself, and I'm sure that it will open your eyes to so much more, and it'll help you mature and grow as well. And so that's why I respect you for doing what you did. I know I'm running out of time, and then my husband has a question for you. But are there foundations out there that you do want to promote and you do want to talk about that you are partnered with?
Currently speaking, no, there isn't anyone that I kind of have on top of my mind. Right now, a lot of people are doing a lot of stuff for the healthcare, which, you know, my mom is a nurse. My mom-in-law is a nurse as well. So they're part of the ones that are on the front line. So anytime I get a moment to, you know, to shout them out, everyone else that's on the front line, you know, thank you. And you guys are doing a great effort, great job, and we appreciate you. That's probably
Absolutely.
all. Yeah.
What they're doing for us is absolutely incredible, and I love it. And
Yeah.
how are you and your wife doing? How is everything? How is marriage? Is it
Yeah.
great?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm grateful and blessed that every day, I wake up and we're together because it was, there's been, obviously a lot of time that we've spent apart. So now it's just kind of great to, have this quiet time, where, there's not so much outside distraction
Yep.
and yeah. So yeah, we're happy. I'm
Oh,
happy,
good.
and yeah, we look forward to when this does finally end or slow down at least, so we
Yeah.
can kind of reconnect with our family members as well.
Yeah, I can only
So, yeah.
imagine. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to
Ah.
switch it over to Ken's corner. My husband, Ken.
Hey,
Always has.
Hey, what's up, man? How you
nice
doing?
one, man.
Nice to meet you.
It's
He
great
has,
job what both of you are doing.
Thank you.
he always, I mean, he's just has random general questions. So
Sure,
I
fire away.
appreciate this. So here we go. What's your question, Ken?
What's next for you? 5 years. What is the next?
5 years?
You did the athlete. You got the cigar business. What's next? What are you going to add to the resume?
To be honest, that's a great question. I look forward to, expanding our family and hopefully, seeing what that brings as well for the rest of, you know,
5 years.
the year, 5 years. I feel like right now in 2020 at this stage in my career, honestly, I think track and field has been the driving vehicle for most things, but I've now reached a new destination where it's not necessarily all about me anymore. I'm a married man, and I think the next thing is, to prepare my family for what lies down for the next generation. So yeah, I'm always building, trying to press on to see what's next in pipeline, but just enjoying the moment.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
enjoying the moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we get asked that a lot as a newly married couple. They're like, so when are you gonna have children? I'm like, bro, y'all don't.
Yeah, congratulations to both of you guys as well. Like, I honestly, I know that's still because I think you got married when I was in the house.
Oh, really? We were in. It was August.
August? Yeah, I was in the house.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I went in the
wow.
house in June, and I got out I was in there for 3 months. So yeah, I missed all that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh geez. Yeah.
So
I mean,
congratulations.
we eloped. We didn't want the whole big thing. We were in Ireland. I had a track meet, and they were just like, let's just get it done.
Hey,
and, I saw your wedding pictures. They were absolutely phenomenal. But I am so thankful. I am truly humbled to be in your presence. You know this.
Yeah.
And I wish you so much success in the future. If you need anything from me, I'm here. If you need a beach house to stay at.
Hey.
You
nice
and the family
one.
are always welcome.
I need to make a trip down to the islands one of these years. So
okay.
I'm gonna need a tour guide. So definitely, yeah.
You know I got you. I got you. We'll do it up right, and I'll probably.
For sure.
I was hoping to go back to Antigua and give back and just do like
the
whole island and meet with the people and stuff, and then this happened, so it'll be pushed back a little bit. By the time that you're ready to go, I'm ready to go too. So we'll make it happen. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mike Edwards,
much love.
ladies and gentlemen.
Take care,
Thank
Priscilla.
you so much. I wish you all the success in the world. I'll talk to you soon, babe.
Bye now. Thank you.
Oh man, love that guy. So excited. Thank you guys so much for watching and for understanding where he's coming from. He's a really big influence in my life for just standing up for what is right and believing in yourself and being an entrepreneur. So I wish Mike all the best. And that is it for my weekend segment. If you guys want, check back my page. We are getting ready for another full week of interviews, coaches, upcoming celebrities, And next Friday is one of my favorite guests. He is a college friend of mine, and he now works for Tyler Perry Studios. And so I'm really excited for that. And for the month of May, I have some phenomenal, amazing guests coming up, and a lot more people are open and willing to do the interview show. So I'm very excited. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Get outside, enjoy your family, stay safe, wash your hands, and be the best version of yourself, guys. I'll talk to you soon.